I'll make it official by calling this meeting to order. It's the Nottingham Master Plan Subcommittee, Tuesday, February 17th, 2026, 7 o'clock. I'll just ask everybody to introduce themselves as we go around the room. We'll start with Steve.
Steve Phillips.
Mary Colvard.
Drew Stevens.
Kristen Lamb.
Dirk Rotenheis.
Kevin Bassett.
Chris Evans.
Tim Gabriel.
Blair Haney.
Great. Let's do a review of the last meeting. Anybody remember how long ago that was and what we talked about?
Alzheimer's Association had it.
I didn't bring my notes, but let's suffice it to say that we just want to have a fresh start and
That's a better idea.
reboot everything from here. And
It's a new year.
I can give a quick update of the chapter status.
We had
Okay.
a meeting that I was a part of back in August, and it was a while ago. But it was late August, it was just before the Labor Day weekend. And then if you remember, we went and had in November, the community workshop.
Right.
And then the holidays hit. So I know it's a lot of time, but it is sort of easily explained, at least from the perspective of the ones that I've been a part of. You guys may have met.
We met in October.
Okay, so then, yeah.
So we
You guys met.
met in October and
We
I,
scheduled a workshop for December or something like that, but it snowed and we
Yeah.
canceled it.
Yeah,
So
we
That's
just-
right.
that
Yeah.
didn't
So
happen.
we did have some things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did have something where they came.
An input session.
Yeah, in October, it sounds like we had something.
We did have, and it was poorly attended, but we did have it.
Oh, you mean the community gathering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in November.
I mean, that's our history in a nutshell.
Yep. And then the holidays. So go ahead, Dirk.
I was just gonna say, I brought up the notes from October 21st, or at least the agenda. And yeah, we went through the sections. We had some detailed topic, the PREPA survey. You had brought up some information on that. And then the community workshop, we talked about that. So that was primarily, and then kind of the next steps and timeline we had was, the November 8th community workshop. And then we had liked to do a workshop, it looked like November 19th, and that one just didn't quite work out. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you want, I can go around the room and just see where we're at with specific chapters.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll hold off on housing and, because that's what you wanted to talk about today, right? Housing and,
We'll touch on natural resources because it is part of the workshop. But as far as the data and stuff is primarily housing.
okay. So I'll just then drop down to land use and zoning. And who was on that? Drew, Mary? Anything?
We haven't met since the last time we gave an update. So I don't think there's been any progress since then.
Mhm.
But the chapter, the land use chapter in particular deals with quite a bit of data that needs to be updated. And so pulling that data from Granite and assembling it so that we could update the figures and tables and whatnot was a considerable effort. And that's maybe 75%, 80% done with the results being put into the chapter. I think there's some other parts of the chapter like the zoning ordinance section that also needs updating. But I'm not sure if anybody else in the committee has tackled that part yet. So still in progress, but not languishing.
Didn't you, I'm on that committee, I believe.
Yep.
Didn't you want a map of some of the land use areas, showing that? I think that, Blair has actually just sent over an email a couple days ago that showed some of the, land uses. I did, extract from the, town MS1, which is posted on our, town reports. It's a, the tax assessor report signed by all these guys over here. You're probably familiar with it
2 more weeks.
intimately.
Yeah.
And that gives a really great breakdown of land uses between residential, commercial, manufactured home, tax exempt homes, and current use and utilities. And so I prepared and dissected this. I actually I did something kind of interesting using AI. And I took the housing survey because it was quite long, like 50 pages. And I took the workshop data sheet that Blair had provided, and then the MS MS1s, which is the housing compilation for the town usage, and put them into an AI program and to compile this, and it generated a summary of the housing survey, which was very informative, I thought. It generated a summary of the workshop data, and then it generated a summary from the MS1s, and it took all that data, and then it actually went a little further to make some recommendations to some areas of potential change in the town based on these surveys and results. And it went even further to it could produce a proposed zoning amendment.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I, in no regard or way have we ever discussed utilizing AI to generate any of our
I'm
findings.
sorry, you're interrupting me. Why don't you hold
Curious.
your question till the end, please? AI is simply
No,
I'm sorry, you don't understand AI.
oh, it's not that I don't understand
So
it.
Chris, the land
We've
use
agreed
chapter has
upon-
nothing to do with the housing or anything like that. We're just talking about the use. We've discussed before how the MS1, not an appropriate land use proxy, right? That's the taxable land.
Land
It's
use
not how
about
land is actually used.
commercial and residential
We
in
should
different
have
zones.
this, let's have this conversation at our land use chapter committee, right? If we need to have that conversation again, let's not waste the time here to go over something that we've already, I thought, put to rest, but apparently is not.
I guess I misunderstand what land use is about.
I think you do, to be honest. So anyway, the land use chapter, it's in progress. I'm not sure what all that was about, but next chapter update, please.
Okay, so we've got historic resources and I have a full draft ready to go. It's inputted up into the
Thank you.
document, the folders for this master plan update on the SharePoint.
Okay,
Um,
Steve and I've worked on that, and Tina, our past president of historical, helped us with some of that. And we abbreviated it, well, Steve and I abbreviated it, I don't know that Tina agrees with abbreviation. But we tried to have it so that the primary focus was on a short version of our history, and then here are the historic resources that are present in our community. And then if you want more detailed information, come visit us at the Historical Society. Because a lot of people with the homes that were in an old home book we published before I moved here, people don't want that information out because people drive around, they walk through their yards. And so they can come and look at pictures, but we don't need to give out detailed information to the whole world.
Mhm.
And then the cemeteries, it's the same issue. Somebody will say, oh, these tombstones have fallen down. And then they go in and they go through private land. They don't pay attention to state RSA regulations, and they start fixing the cemeteries. So we don't have all the details on the cemeteries. If you want to know, come find out at the Historical Society or check with our cemetery.
What we did was try to make it current. For example, in terms of history, there is the Marsh Woods, which is really historic because it's a trail that people can hike on, and it is also available right now through different sources, and was one of the first major cotting mills in New Hampshire. So we've tried to make it relevant, and so when people say this is history, but where history can they view it today, go to?
Yeah, so that's great. It's, and the pictures are there.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of the first one in. So what we'll do is when we get more of these drafts in, we'll start like having an edit session where we can format them and get them into the right
Yeah.
location or right things.
Yeah, we made recommendations and all of that.
Yeah.
Like how best to preserve our history and our historic resources, as was done in the original one that we were referring to.
Great,
The original is our old one.
great. That's good. Good for you. Thank you for doing that.
There's a lot of controversy on this
There
one.
you go, cross ends.
Um, So the next one's transportation circulation. So me, Kevin, Steve are
We've met
assigned.
5 times already.
We've met 5 times and we've gotten nothing done. Unless, did you get it done?
That look.
If I was invited to those meetings.
They didn't happen. The 5 times.
They were meetings that happened in the mind only.
So tell me again, maybe after this meeting, we can figure out where we're gonna,
Yeah.
for how we try.
I started in and just kind of organizing it a little bit. I haven't gotten a lot of the data, but I did that in pre-holidays. So I have to refresh my memory on what it was. And then we'll just make another step of getting together individually.
Our 6th meeting,
Yeah, 6th meeting. Exactly.
So the action from there is to the 3 of us to get together.
Yeah.
Sometime soon.
Yep.
again, what is, transportation is clearly very important, especially nowadays.
Mhm.
Especially in Nottingham.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll just reread the original one, and then we'll just set up time and we'll get together. do
Before
that.
we leave tonight.
Yeah. Yep. Economic development, Tim and,
I think the theme is probably similar to the last 3 updates we've received from the other. Am I right?
Concur,
Yes.
And we talked about things that seem to be resonating in the town. We also saw some things like, there was like a business development committee that was gonna be, you know, from the last one and that never took hold. And I think we wanna understand if like it's just not feasible and it's not gonna happen, or like why those didn't come to life, and if we would recommend them again or make
And I
changes.
think at our last meeting, we also were waiting for some updated numbers to come out.
And all of that,
Right.
the
And all-
final audited numbers came out in October
Yeah.
or November of last year, so we have all of that to be updated as of 2024. So all of that will be able to update, so.
So
And I'll have a lot
We
more
need
free
to
time
meet
in my
again, but
hands
we
in 3
could-
weeks, so
Yeah.
I will help work on that.
What is the economic chapter supposed to be pertaining to?
The,
It's
The
focused on
town and
business and
business.
jobs growth. That's like basically what economic development is supposed to be.
So the commercial section of our town potentially?
well, yeah, I would say it's more.
Also ways to bring
like,
money to
the
the town.
farming, the farming community was
Right,
used in the last,
agriculture.
because that was the bigger part of our, I guess, industry, if you will, but talking about bringing those people together and having, monthly meetings or something to help promote agriculture in the town. But it was a bunch of different data points, that we can, that stuff isn't stuff that Betsy would have, but it's more at the state level, to pull together for Nottingham. I wouldn't say, not your like, it's not like looking at the Portsmouth Chamber of Commerce's details on their business economic survey, but
We do have a business zone in our town.
Yes, and there's activity on it.
We did
Pardon
talk
me?
about that in the mixed
There's
use.
activity on
that
Route 4.
could be possible, and what is happening or what people are asking for, or what people are already leaning into, and how to better support that based on our location and what people are attracted to and what we have available as a town to offer commercial.
I'd like to
Street.
have a coffee shop where I could get a coffee And a gas station where they actually sell gas? That would be
We
handy
get
and,
one gas,
huh?
one type
Not
of
yet,
gas.
not lately, they don't.
No gas in Monroe?
No gas.
But yeah, so we will reconvene.
Community facilities, Tim, you provided a bunch of information.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting that up on SharePoint and then probably just massaging it into the format.
Yeah, and I do have some more data to put in from the fire department and police department too, so yeah, I will.
Great. Then there's an energy one. So Kevin, myself, and Mary, similar to the majority of these other sections.
I tried once.
We haven't,
No energy there.
well, there hasn't been much energy. So again, reboot that one. Parks and Recreation.
So we kind of put that one in with facilities, I think, because it was,
We wrap it in?
I think we had talked about doing that because it was part of, I think it was part of the facilities chapter. Or did we break,
I thought we
now I can't
broke-
remember, maybe we broke it out,
I
it
thought we
was in.
broke it out
Okay, it was in the
separately.
facilities, yeah.
Is that right? Did we break out Parks and Recreation separately?
We did, I was thinking the opposite,
Okay.
it was in
You
the,
don't- There's no prescription, you can do what you want.
No, but we thought it would be good to have its own section. 'Cause
Yeah,
It comes
I-
right out of the organization we have, or the department we have.
Yes, I would agree.
And Sarah was looking into that. Not here. Then that's all the updates I have right now.
I hate to pick a scab or whatever, but I just wanna make sure, cause maybe it's an assumption that like we are the ones writing this and we're like not utilizing AI to write chapters. Like it's the subcommittee that's writing it, like I don't wanna make an assumption, but that was surprising to me.
Well, yeah, and I think the AI maybe he was referring to is looking at data.
50 pages of a survey compiled into a summary and some key points.
So I think
So
that
I
maybe
don't
the
know how,
point that.
let me
I think
finish.
the point
Let me
that-
finish.
I think the point
Let me
that-
finish.
Relax,
I think the point
There's
that-
50 pages of a survey. How
Points.
many of you have read all 50 pages of that survey?
So I think the
Relax.
point that Kristen is trying to make is that when we're writing the narratives for this chapter, we should avoid relying upon generative AI to make this text because it often does what's called hallucinating, and it'll insert things that are completely incorrect and pull them out of nowhere. And people have a habit of assuming what's coming out is okay. So what we don't want to do is to inadvertently introduce errors into our writing when we don't realize it. So AI can be a decent tool for doing certain things, but writing a master plan chapter update, in my opinion, should not be something that
I
involves
don't think that's.
AI
what you were-
writing.
I don't think I said that.
And I clarified that that's not what I'm talking about either. I'm saying when we're writing the chapter updates themselves, a narrative, right? Doing whatever you want with data to inform whatever, that's fine. If you want to do that. But the things that go into this master plan update should not be the product of artificial intelligence. The narrative in particular.
Yeah, and then
That's
there,
what I wanted to
we
clarify.
certainly have to vet all of the
Yeah.
sources
Yep.
regardless of.
This
where
is
we're
not a
getting information.
critique on what you were saying earlier, Chris. This is a tangential
Thank you,
point that
Adrian.
I'd like to make about the use of AI
you were
for
upset.
narrative content of this master plan update, okay?
That's great. I took data out of our town MS1 report, which I got off of a computer, which is computer intelligence, okay, on the internet. It's one of the things that people use in this world. They use the internet, they research data, they compile data on the internet. That's what AI is about. It's using the internet. That's all it's about. I took this data from our town forms, compiled it into a simple display that people could look at. By the way, I am looking at the land use chapter, and it specifically has categories of land use, residential, industrial, transportation, agricultural, open wetlands, total acreages of the town. These seem to be land use categories. I don't know what you think land use categories are, Drew. Please share what you think the land use categories of the town are for the land use chapter, please.
That will be in whatever you
No,
blank out.
I want him to answer
No,
this.
We're not doing that right now, Chris.
Well,
That
to
can
be
in-
clear though, what he said is it's not the data from the MS1, which is the value. That's actually in the economics chapter. The acreage is what's in the land use.
The acreage is in the MS1 as well.
That's the taxable acreage, Chris. The land use data comes from the Granite database. It's GIS-based data, geospatial data, Chris. That's analyzed to come up with these numbers. Those
By
categories that you
artificial
listed
intelligence?
in the land use chapter, those are land use categories. The numbers that comprise those categories that you're reading do not come from the MS1 data. That is the point that I've been trying to make to you for like a year now, is that that is not the appropriate place to source that data because you're mixing apples and oranges.
And what do we do, Dirk, if someone on one of these committees doesn't understand that data to be
Or
used?
agree.
Well, it's very frustrating to try to get anything done when
Right.
somebody fundamentally does not understand what we're supposed to be doing in like any aspect. And I don't appreciate spending this much of my time going in circles over and over again on almost every topic, to be honest. It is so unproductive and so wasteful of everybody's time.
All right, let's talk about housing then, Drew.
That is what
can
we
we
are
get to
supposed to be
housing?
talking about here,
Let's
not
talk about housing.
tangential things to derail the conversation into whatever thing you want to rant about, Mr. Evans.
Okay, it seems to me as though that's a committee you guys should be thrashing that out when you're in your committee.
No,
We
but
have
I
that's
will
tried.
probably
for
step out of
everybody.
that committee because obviously there is a misconception about what land use is about. I mean, if I'm using it for residential, if I'm using it for commercial, if I'm using it for agricultural, those seem to be land uses. I don't know what other people are thinking it is.
Mr. Evans, with all due respect, you do fundamentally misunderstand what land use is and how those figures are derived. You do. I'm sorry. You should go and research it. I've sent you the
I've only been
document.
in the real estate
I've
business
sent
for
you
Alright,
the
guys, alright,
document.
alright, both,
and I
both.
think you're incorrect, okay?
Thank you.
I'm having a tough time with this,
Good.
please.
Let's move on to housing,
No,
please.
not good. We need to resolve this. The way it's gonna get resolved is, you offered to step away from that committee, that's fine.
Yep,
So then you guys can start creating what you need to do for the land use. And then all of these chapters come back to this whole board for a review. So it's not just you guys are gonna create it and it's gonna go in the book, right?
Correct.
It's not just you're gonna create it and it's gonna go in the book. It comes back to this whole board and then we all vote to put it into that fashion, right? If we want edits on it, we can edit it. If we wanna look at data, we can talk about data. So that's the process that we're gonna go through.
Could I come back to the big picture? Once we compile all this, then we then go to the planning committee, right?
Yeah, we have to make a recommendation, that's all we do, we recommend this is the update to the planning board. The
So-
planning board
so
can
what
take
we-
or
yeah.
reject or however they wanna
So
do with
what
that.
we're doing, the endpoint for us is a new document that goes to the planning board.
Correct.
And then to the planning board, to the selectmen.
Nope,
No,
No,
just the planning board.
just the planning board?
You can send it to them, but as far as the approval part of it, it stops with the planning board,
Oh,
assuming
okay.
that they approve it.
then any
they-
ordinances or zoning changes go to the public.
Yeah, that's a totally different path,
Right.
yeah. This is just the chapters themselves.
Do they approve as is, or do they
No, they
have the
can,
opportunity to modify?
oh, yeah, they can modify it.
And is there a deadline for
The second,
this?
I didn't get an answer.
Yes, they can modify it.
They can modify, and then
But my job,
we can review and then caucus and on those modifications?
So Dirk, is there a
Yes.
deadline by which we get to
Thank
the
you.
planning board?
There is no deadline.
Okay,
We want to get it done as efficiently as possible, because we wanna get it done. But we also wanna make sure it's done
correctly.
collectively with what the citizens want. So that's why there's outreach and things, they're invited to come to here. They'll be invited to come to the planning board when we present it for adoption to the planning board. So
Just to remind me, how many people in this room are on the planning board?
2, 3.
3, okay. So it's good to know to where we're going, you people got some advanced knowledge about it.
yeah. And there's-
Is there any artificial date that we would want to get in front of the voters?
No.
I'm asking him, I know.
I think it's
But-
summertime, right? So I think,
Okay.
Let's ask
Not
Blair about-
necessarily
let's ask
April or
Blair.
anything like that, okay.
yeah, because I mean, we're gonna go through another 2-3 months of these kind of, updates for this, and there's the grant that we have that's developing some things, so some of it might go around how these grants are and the information we'll get from that, and then some of the timeline. But I think, as these other chapters are, I don't think it's outlandish that we have 3 months of time to finish these or do these. Maybe it will be, but that means we're meeting 3 times, subcommittees will meet. These are updates to our existing master plan. It's not rewriting a whole new idea. So I think that we can conceivably 3-4 months out have these other chapters done regardless of what the housing is. Does
I don't know
that
if we've
seem
done-
okay?
Yeah, I don't know if we've done this before, but it would be useful for you to resend a list of people on this committee and how to contact them.
Yeah.
Because that would be helpful.
That goes in line with the reset button, okay? So we'll do that, and I'll put together based on what maybe Blair has, I'll put together a rough estimated calendar of when we would like to get these things done.
Thank you.
Could I add in one thing on that?
Yeah, please.
The natural resource inventory grant that we have, kind of the staging of that will probably mean that we will have all of the other chapters done in advance of the data and everything else needed for the NRI chapter, or the natural resources chapter that's based on the NRI. So it's very likely that the acceptance of the updated master plan would be in one large chunk for everything but the natural resources chapter, and then that natural resources chapter would be adopted when it's ready, just so it doesn't lose momentum if everything else is ready to go, so that the NRI is not holding it up. So, and
Yeah.
that can be done too. It can be done in chapters, it can be done as one whole document.
Well, let's get to the point where we're comfortable with the percentage on the majority of these chapters.
Right.
And then at that point in time, we can reassess, is it 2 months or 3 months? Should it wait? Should we just push this other thing out and update it as the chapters, as you mentioned?
Makes sense. I just wanted to make sure that that was out there so that we knew that we weren't pressured to do it all in one big piece at once.
Very good. All right, let's turn it over to Blair.
Alrighty, thanks everyone. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the natural resources chapter and the housing chapter. It's gonna be a little bit focused on the housing, just because that one is moving along ahead. I mean, we started that one like 6 months ahead of time, so it is a little bit advanced. But the first thing I wanna talk about, as you see in the agenda, is sort of a recap and also like takeaways for those of you that did actually attend the workshop. In your packet that that I emailed you, and then you have some of the documents printed out in front of you. There's the one that says Nottingham Community Workshop. It's the feedback from exercises document. It's about 4 pages. It's the one that's on the paper clip. That one is taking, if you remember the format, we broke off in a small group, two groups, and we had 4 discussions within each group. And each discussion was to generate some ideas amongst the group. And then we took like the best of those ideas, and then we wrote them down, and then we asked everybody to use sticky dots to vote on them, on the ideas that they thought were the best underneath whatever the subheading was. So for example, if you look at that first page, preferred housing types and locations, this is when we talked about, some small scale housing and where that might be best located. You can see here a list of ideas that people have put down, and then a corresponding number of sticky dots, and then I put the ranking on it. So you can sort of see how they stacked up against each other, where people were saying, oh, I like this idea. And then if you look at, so that's what, that was what we did. We took a look at those 4 topics. We were talking about small scale housing, we talked about some of your favorite outdoor recreational places. We talked about some ways to reduce costs, and then we talked about rural character. So those were the 4 big topics that we talked about. And then, as you can see in that printout, of those 4 big topics, what some of the results were. I didn't do much to synthesize it, I just kind of gave you the raw data to look at and kind of draw your own conclusions from it. But I guess what I want to start out with is getting some just general feedback, hear what some people have to say about about the workshop and, some of the things that you heard, some of the ideas that came out of it. So why don't we start there, kind of very loose and open. Let me know what what you experienced, what you heard. And yeah, we'll start from there. So
When was this workshop?
this is the November workshop, the one that was in the gymnasium over here.
That didn't have a mob.
Yeah. it
So I
was.
think that's the challenge with a lot of this is that close to half the group that was in attendance were committee members. So yeah, I guess.
Turnout was not awesome.
No, and I appreciate pulling together all of this information and it's fantastic, but when you look at the total number of people that were actually there and thinking about the number of sticky dots,
Yep.
I don't know, it's just really tough to, get a gauge of, is this truly a reflection of our community or?
Statistically, I don't think it's valid.
Right. I guess, I mean, it was some great conversation, I thought the people that did attend that weren't members of the committee, I think were members of the community that, some of them, it was their first meeting that they've been to in town. So I thought it was great for them to sort of hear and learn more about what the master planning committee does and the housing chapter specifically and natural resources, but.
I noticed a lot of consensus within our small attendees of mixed use 55 plus along those routes. And I was thinking about how it seems like we just 2 years ago maybe had zoned that all to commercial.
Right.
So maybe that is a recommendation or something to consider if we wanna tease out to find out if more people feel like that. Maybe there's an opportunity.
And Blair, I think your group did an awesome job helping guide or at least explain, because I think people were kind of clueless. So when you were mentioning, Steve, when we were prepping for this is, the education process, and we were thinking, well, people don't need to be educated, but that's really what it was, is
Yeah.
people learning about what are these different mixed uses and what can they be in different zones and cannot be. So your group did a fantastic job helping us
Thank
out with that.
The general tone was very relaxed and people had a lot of good conversations. And a couple of young ladies that had found out about it through the newsletter, the community newsletter, they were just like thrilled that this was going on and that their input was being listened to. So maybe small, but I think it was a powerful meeting.
What does targeted density mean?
What was it?
The word targeted density, what does that mean?
Targeted density.
Zoning? Made zoning for targeted density, I don't know what that means.
I think it's more intense density, higher density for that location.
You don't
Meaning
need
like
2 acre lots.
Smaller lots,
Which leads to you'd have to change the zoning to do that. In other words, okay, thank you.
I will say too, on Kristen's point here, is that on there's a warrant article out right now for multifamily housing in commercial. So that area along Route 4, while the town had zoned that just commercial, if the warrant article does pass, then that will be allowable for multifamily.
And that was something we talked about in the Economic Development Committee too, is that a lot of towns with similar natural resources, similar population and size are having great success concentrating and having these little village districts that have like restaurants or coffee shops or whatever, and then housing above or.
Right.
Blair?
Yep.
This obviously is a workshop. Remind me, did we do a mailer also?
I think we did a survey, yes.
I don't think we did a physical to the house mailer, but
No,
we
it was
did,
a website where you could fill out something, that's correct.
yeah, we
It
did,
was a survey, correct.
I don't know if that's a
Online.
yes or a no.
Housing
I don't know if
survey.
that's a yes or no, but.
Haven't done the
News-
natural
I think the biggest,
resources.
I guess, mailing piece about this, are you talking about the workshop that we did to promote the workshop?
No, I thought there might have been another mailer that we were considering. I didn't know if that happened.
I
And we
think,
were sending out to.
I think you're talking about the natural resources survey that we might have been talking about, because we had a housing survey that was online, right? And we completed that. And then I think we were talking about also doing a natural resources survey at like the last time this group met. And I think we had actually hammered out what we wanted all the questions to be. I think it was in your,
yeah,
I think
it's in
that
my
ball
hands.
was in your
We did.
court,
It
right?
is,
We did.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Did it get?
It has not gotten sent, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
No, I wanted to come
So
to
the
this meeting
basis-
and then we
okay,
can talk about
yeah.
it to get it going.
Basically, my question is any of that data available to add to this data to see if there are any trends? Because that's what this whole thing is about, is trends, right? Is, with
So
what,
there was a,
what,
there was a
what
survey.
is, because there is a bunch of 55 plus things here, and that's sort of one little trend that you can pick up on, so. I didn't know, wonder if it happened, if that data is available to add to this to make logical decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I share with the group all of the survey results back when we first got it. So what I can do is send it around again and you can take a look at it next to some of this workshop data.
Is that prudent for the,
Yeah.
for the
Good
team?
idea.
Yeah, I mean, we asked at different things, like the survey kind of informed a little bit about what we should focus on in the workshop. So in a way, there is a line you can draw from one to the other, so you might find a trend just simply because we did talk about, we heard from people that there were people looking to downsize in the community that were older but couldn't, because there really wasn't much
Understood.
available.
Understood.
So
One
we
led
did
to the other.
talk about elderly housing, but there wasn't a specific workshop exercise around elderly housing. It was just about different kinds of housing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, just wondering if there was any value added in looking at that.
there absolutely could be, yeah. All right, so takeaways from the workshop, we had some good conversations. We were smaller than we had hoped, but that made us more nimble. So we were able to
Nice choice of words.
Thanks. We were able to, extrapolate out a lot more from individuals who might get lost in a big group. So I think that was good. Again, if we're looking for statistics, none of this really can be used. The survey, the sample sizes are small compared to the community, but you use it as a guiding light, right? You use it just to give you some direction. You've heard from some of the communities, so
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, she was only a bootlegger's daughter, but they lived her still. I like you to distill down what you got out of, with the surprises or take-home messages you got from that workshop.
for me, the thing I was going to talk about next was actually going to be this map, which is specific to the first exercise, which is about small scale housing. And what we ask people to do is put sticky dots in areas of the town where you think certain types of small scale housing would be appropriate. And I'm actually kind of surprised about how spread out it is. I expected people to just put everything along Route 4 because that's the no man's land. right? That's the commercial area, that's where everything goes. But if you look at it, there's some indication that people support different types of housing around different parts of the community. Obviously, devil's always gonna be in the details, but you know, you look at Orange, which is the rental housing, you know, that's got a pretty good spread.
So Blair, there are two pictures.
Which one is
Side.
which?
Both sides of the two different groups. It's the same thing, two different groups. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, remember that we had two groups and then we just switched, so everybody's doing this exercises, so
You
this
just
is,
pull all the dots off of one to put on, make one?
can't use that.
Okay, but
Single
what you're
shots.
saying is that one of the
Mercy.
things that you came
No
away
mercy
with
at all.
is more interest in this
156, 152.
small group housing or something. That's one of the take-home messages.
Yeah, I mean, small lot housing, is red, on one of them. Yeah, the one that's labeled number 1, down in the lower right-hand corner. You know, it has a good spread of red, for, where to look for, small lots, or smaller lots than what we currently require. Orange, which was the rental housing, again, there's a concentration of it along Route 4, but you see a couple of places in the community where it might be appropriate. Green, 55 plus housing, again, you see a couple of spots along Route 4, but you also see it, someone wrote town-wide, you know, like it was a good idea to just do it town-wide. You see some concentration in around this area of the community. So, you know, for me, I think that the community was pointing us in directions that are worth exploring. Looking at those areas for potential rezoning or a new zoning district or an overlay zoning district to allow different types of small scale housing. You know, incremental development.
Leave it here, it's mine, don't steal it.
I know.
What's the black?
Yeah, what's the,
Oh, I did,
Can we
if
just
you look
run
in front of you,
through
there's, I put the codes. There's a few codes.
oh, that's what this is.
Right in front of you, right in front
Alright,
of you.
thank you.
Right in front of you.
Oh, legend.
There's a that. Yes.
Legend.
Yeah, there's only a few of them.
Oh,
It's this, Steve. This, I'm gonna hog it for a minute.
So, black is single family ADUs, that's the one that everyone's gonna, that's pretty much everywhere, is already currently zoned for it. But, yeah, I mean, yellow mixed use, look how, you know, yellow's a lot of different places, not just Route 4.
Blair, I'm seeing just from the town is Route 4, 152 and 156. Not seeing it on any of the like side roads or class 5 roads or.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's good that the community is showing a willingness and an appetite. It gives us direction, it's not, I don't think this is giving us a blessing or saying, yep, we're fine, do whatever you want. It's, you know, this is an indication of, you know, where to start thinking about things.
So, if I can interject, you said that it shows that there's an appetite and willingness, but this exercise, we were given a certain number of each one of these colored dots to put on the map, right? So everybody's going to put single-family housing somewhere,
Right.
even if they don't want any single-family housing anywhere type of thing, right? So the data is biased, so when you say that there's an appetite, like, I just wanna say that the instructions were to put a stickered dot from each one of the categories at least, right? The instructions bias the results, and the
I
way
mean,
you
it's a
presented
glasses
that.
half empty perspective, I would say, but sure, if you wanna go about it that way. No one had to put the dots down, it was just, here are the dots, here are the
But
colors.
the instructions said that you should take this many of each color dot and apply it to the map. Somebody could choose not to, but the instructions said, don't take as many of the green ones that you want and put it where you wanna conserve everything. Those weren't the instructions, right?
So Blair, I'm just, again, looking at the survey, I see that on the survey, there were 162 responses. And we had a small turnout at this community center event, which did include some of the board members, and it also included others. What would prevent us from refining and honing down some of the key points and going back for another townwide survey? I mean, what was the cost of the survey? We posted it online, we collected results, we put it in the free town newsletter, and free as far as putting it in there. I know it's not free to print it and send it. What would stop us from doing another survey to refine the results that we have kind of clustered?
I mean, you know, as far as, you know, the project that I'm leading, that I'm working on right now, that's not in the cards. But that's certainly something the community can do, right? You know, at some point, you know, the board is capable of putting something like that together and organizing that. So, yeah, there's certainly could be value in it. It could also be duplicative. If they didn't take it the first time around,
Say, what's a general?
are they gonna take it the second time? Maybe. You might capture some people that didn't even know the first one was happening or were enthusiastic could take it. But I mean, what's that number gonna be? 10%, 20%? I don't think you're gonna see a huge skew one way or the other.
Blair, what do you
Well-
usually see for percentage participation in that? Like, are we kind of on par with?
I thought the rate was a little low. I was hoping to get a little bit higher, a little bit better turnout or participation for the survey. But, you know, we got 170-ish responses. So, I mean, you can glean from that what you will. Like I said, I think all of this is, I don't want to call it data, or not call it not data, but just, I don't want to sit there and say, you make your decisions based on it. I think you look at everything, right?
But instead of making something up, we have some guidance.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So this is the citizens of Nottingham that have put input into this, so we have some guidance on that.
They care
And then-
enough to show, or they're able to show up and hopefully they represent portions
And,
of.
you know,
But
it's,
more than one opportunity is prudent. And there's two opportunities coming ahead. We have our April voting.
March.
March, right? So that's an opportunity to be outside, sort of do the same thing that we did here, but outside or in the, you know, in the building. And then there's always the dump, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, right? If you want to get the people, you do that 2 weeks in a row, you will get a high percentage of the town folks who use the dump. Now, not the trash pickup, but, so, you know, if you wanna get a larger view of the town folks, there are a couple opportunities coming up. Now, Blair just said that it's not in your preview to organize that. And that's a question for Blair. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, the outreach and engagement for this
It's up to us.
is done. We're now to get it to, we need to pivot towards findings and recommendations.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'm just laying it out, if there's more input from the town that we think we wanna do, it's only 2-3 months away.
So, Blair, going back to, because this is, his position here with the housing chapter is grant funded, and there's a deadline in milestones
Yes.
for us to complete
Yep.
in order for that grant to be funded.
Yeah. We're good. I mean, we have until September, but I don't wanna push it because, I just don't want to.
Okay, to me, there was a take-home message that the elephant in the room is that some of us, at least I'm surprised that there's more enthusiasm than I expected for these small units and senior development than we had anticipated. Is that a fair statement? No, when you think of Nottingham, think of a single-family dwelling. But now we're saying at least some citizens are looking at other alternatives for this town. That's a finding, that we, it's an important finding which will What?
And if I saw
think some
that
of
a
it-
second or third time, I would start to agree with you.
Oh my God.
What were you saying, sorry?
I think some of that comes down to affordability, right? We heard in some of the people in the workshop, well, they can't afford a single family home, and if there was other options, apartments or something in Nottingham, that would be beneficial to them.
That does seem like something that was consistent in the survey
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's about like density and building a ton. I think it's about diversifying your housing stock.
Yeah, I think it's just a
Right.
mixture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what comes to get to mixture, the steps, that's where I feel like the rubber meets the road, and I think that's where the pushback begins to get. Because in order to do that, you have to lower your lot sizes and your setbacks and your
Which is-
density
which is zoning.
allowances. And I think that that's where, people start to get a little spooked. And I think there's ways to do it, and I felt like this exercise could at least start to get us towards locations of the community where we could have that conversation. That's what I was hoping might come out of this, is places where people feel like the infrastructure or the allowance, whatever it might be, would at least give us a place to put our eyeballs to start
I
looking.
wanted to get back to make sure we're in agreement, cause you said you saw it everywhere. I'm seeing it along our major routes, which are 156, 152, and Route 4. Am I seeing the same thing that most people are seeing?
I agree with that. There's, on one of these maps, there's 10 circles on 4, and then there's about 12 throughout the rest of the town, but the other 12 are predominantly located on 152. And then, same thing in the town center, 152, 156 come together, and 4 comes together. I'm not sure which one of these circle groups I was in, but, yeah, so that, I agree with that, Kristen. That's, an observation.
Being along the major roadways is gonna be obvious. You're not gonna put it on a, small neighborhood road.
Which actually ties into transportation in a way.
So, yeah, I don't wanna use this as the place to plant our flag. I just wanna, point out find out what your takeaways are, review the maps and the map, these two maps, and what some of the things that were said, and hear more from you guys, as well as the other parts of those exercises that we, the document that you have in front of you, where we did do favorite natural resource area, and the reduced control expenses is, I'll have to find a way to incorporate that, but it was still a good exercise. I stand by that.
I agree, but I wanna also just point out that there's another overarching goal here for the master plan is come up with an action items. So we're not gonna solve a lot of things here. We're not gonna capture everything here. What we're gonna do is be able to maybe identify some of those and say, okay, this needs a little exploration. So an action item might be set up a different subcommittee, or the select board should do something, or the planning board should do something. So I wanna also bring up that we're not here to really solve it, but I wanna make sure that we're just guiding it into some actions that others can take.
That's what I was thinking
Talking
about the.
voting, I believe there were 8 items on zoning on the referendum, election.
Yeah.
Do you think the public understands those?
Well, I hope so, cause we took quite a bit of time in how we would present those. They are, for the most part, a change at the state level that requires the communities to follow. And so those articles are really to conform to state law that's already in place, so that the town is not open for any risk against those state ordinances, state law.
But the planning board was cognizant of how the public would interpret those articles, and so we did spend time, discussing the wording of the reasoning and everything else to make it clear that they were, state RSA changes, et cetera, so. we did think about that and we put in our best effort to clarify as much as we could.
Thank you.
Some, just on your action item, is, like, I was thinking these are on the major roads, which were just turned into commercial zoning, so is that a thing too? For the planning board to explore mixed use or turning that back to residential,
Turning back the commercial,
right? If the findings are people are looking for mixed use or denser housing along Route
Mic-
4, which is
it-
commercial now.
mixed use is possible if it's multifamily incorporated into it. So
As commercial,
it as the commercial zone, if our zoning amendment passes. If it doesn't pass, then they can do that and then sue the town because they meet state regulations, but the town doesn't. So,
And remember, like, it's only allowing the use, it's not changing the performance standards. So it's still 2 acres minimum, it's still the big setbacks and stuff. So it's still difficult. It's as hard as it is anywhere else in the community. It's the same zoning. It's just, we didn't allow it before, now we have to allow it. So it's just the use, it's all the same performance standards. So you're right, we could see something up there. But again, when you need 20 acres to get 10 units, it's prohibitive from a developer's standpoint. So despite the fact that it may be allowed along Route 4, it just may not come to fruition. So there is sort of that piece built into place. The state also did state that you can put in some other performance standards as well. Again, you still just have to allow the use. So I think getting through the first bit of just becoming compliant is step one, and then taking deeper looks at things. It would be like next year's task, you know.
but that would be an action item for the planning board.
recommendation, right?
It would be an action item,
Yeah.
so that the planning board take up reviewing lot size zoning, you know, and maybe that's an amendment that happens in the future, reducing that in some areas.
I do wanna move on a little bit, out of respect for time. So I think this was good. I'm gonna ask, you know, if anybody wants to give any other thoughts on the workshop, you know, the exercises document, the map document. Does anybody have any final thoughts? Alright,
Yes. I do agree with Kevin and that if we wanted to refine and get a second run on this and redefine the questions that are important, or to try to get kind of a better flavor that we could go about announcing at the town meeting, here's a scan code, scan this and take this survey, people. There's probably gonna be 400 or 500 people there, hopefully, maybe. Most of the town will eventually get there. So, you know, we could put up a scan code there, hey, scan this and take the survey, and get another round of this. I don't think it's a bad idea, I don't think there's a huge cost to it, but I understand that you have, some time is of the essence on the, grant thing. There are some deadlines on that and some performance guidelines.
We'd also, I mean, in order to do that and make, I mean, what's the date of those? What's the date of the meeting? What, it's
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
March 10th.
Oh.
So we would need to come up with
Yeah.
survey questions,
Yeah.
which if you remember the first survey that we did,
Right.
it took about 3 months to get
Yeah,
those vetted through. So
yeah, okay,
in respect to trying to get that together, I'm not sure that we have the time to.
check, that's a good point too.
I think that people aren't going to actively reply or respond unless they sense a need. And I don't think people are feeling compelled right now to do that. That a lot of people are oblivious, and some people won't use a QR code because they think they're going to get their private information absconded with, or their phone or their computer is gonna be infected. It's like, it's funny, we got a couple of different subsets of individuals, and some are very computer savvy and literate and informed, and others not. And by choice, not by ignorance, not by economy, but by choice. And so I think if we did another survey, I don't think we get much more response. And if I'm at the dump, I'm dumping. I'm not doing a survey, frankly, especially when there's a gust 40-mile-per-hour wind.
I wanna get in and out as
Very
quick as
spoken,
possible.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. The point is, does this committee think that more town people, information, input to a survey, this survey, other surveys, is prudent to us to recommend to alter our inputs to the planning board?
I see the
And
participation
So
as,
one by one. Yes, no,
Yes,
no.
I think that we're doing another survey. We've got the natural resources one waiting. And we can see how the response to that is. That would be an indication if people are
Good
willing.
input, good input?
Thank you.
I mean, practically, sure, it sounds like a good idea. Logistically, I don't think it's feasible, so no.
But feasible from a time perspective?
Yeah, I don't think
This
we're gonna
could
get
happen-
enough, I don't think
this could happen in June.
resampling the town and giving an extra time for that, I don't think we're gonna get enough responses that are gonna, honestly, I don't think the original housing, it was such a qualitative type of survey where you can't really extract a whole lot out of it aside from general trends, and resampling the town is not gonna give us any more nuanced information, I don't think, that's gonna help us. So I'm a no.
So you'd want to drill down just a little bit.
If we're gonna spend the time to go into data, it needs to be useful data, and I don't think
Understood.
resampling in the same way that we've done is gonna get us
Understood.
useful data, so I'm a
What's your
no.
thoughts?
I see the same statistical participation as we had at town meetings when we met in person and we made decisions and votes and moved the town forward based on that participation, so I don't think it's necessary.
Understood?
Uh,
Chair?
I'm a no. I think that for the time and effort of the board members should be into getting these chapters done and not resurveying more citizens that might just participate the same number. So I think the risk is that we're not gonna get the same,
Understood?
so time-wise, no.
I think I know your answer.
I
You
will,
already stated.
I will say that the demographics that Blair provided the other day, plus what's publicly available, plus the survey, plus the town workshop, did provide some trends and information and relevant stuff. It would be, I think it would be great to drill it down to kind of say, all right, hey, we have small housing, whatever it's called here, small lot housing. Well, everybody's put it on Route 4 and nobody, you can't build a house on Route 4 because it's all commercial. So it can't be done.
So,
Yes,
we got your answer.
thank you.
I'd say it would be I think a recommendation of the housing chapter would be to have the planning board look at creating a survey for the,
Understood.
so
Okay.
do it in a year or
I
two.
think the consensus is not now, but a recommendation is going forward. I'd like to just help you with the decision here so we can move forward. So if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind.
Hey, I wanna add too, though, that the housing thing is, I was just in Manchester looking at when they did their new master plan, and the planner said, this is a living document, this is not the be-all end of this story, this is just part of it, and it's gonna change and evolve, and we're gonna find things that are wrong and wanna make changes, so I think we could, if we do start from somewhere, we could come back in a year or two and go, hey, and we're supposed to do this every 5 years, the last time we did was 2011, so we might come back sooner and say, hey, let's see how these results panned if we actually make a change, and then evaluate that and go forward from there. So
I agree.
Okay, so I like Tim's idea of just putting it, making it as an action item, keep it living. Yeah. So I think the no's outweighed the yeses, and,
No,
okay, good,
That's fine, I just wanted to
Yep.
to vet it
we're there.
so that
No
the
survey.
Good data
committee
points.
is all on the same page.
Alright, so we talked about the workshop, now I wanna pivot to data. What I sent you, we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically 6 tabs that I had sent all of you of data. If you don't have a digital thing in front of you, it's gonna be hard to see it, but we do have, about 6 different tabs of data, and I've got plenty of tabs more and even more data sets within each tab, and I pulled these ones out so that we could have a meaningful conversation. There are other things that I can provide you. What I did try to do though was get you as many of the ones that were specifically requested by this group. There were some that we were unable to get. There were some that are still processing, but a lot of it is there. So, what the overall question is gonna be, what do you see in the way of trends?
Working on getting there.
What do you see in the way of projections? Not just projecting out, okay, in 2030, we're gonna have this number of people living here, but like, how do you think it translates into projections? Do you think there'll be a higher demand for elderly housing because of a data trend? So I kind of want to hear what your thoughts are. I've heard from a couple of you so far in email. I would like to hear what some of the other ones have to say about, what some of these data tables look like, and what you're seeing. Let's have a conversation around that. Because the idea is gonna be, these trends are gonna help us understand projecting out what this community is heading, and then we can work on goals and recommendations based on some of the things we're seeing. Remember, this is data in addition to the same thing, the way this was data and the survey was data. Let's hear what people are saying. We've got a demographics table, we've got households, we've got housing stock, income values by use, which is assessor data.
Blair, I had that big question of why the projection was so low when we've had a growth of 40% over the past 25 years.
Nationwide, statewide, we're seeing much smaller household sizes. We're seeing less and less children. So I don't think that people are.
The Northeast
I
has
don't actually
one of the
recall
biggest
exactly.
immigration from other states. So I certainly
The
wouldn't feel
Northeast
comfortable.
does?
Yes, yep,
I
New
wasn't
England.
even
Texas and
worried
Florida are the
about
ones that are growing the most.
New England has a huge growth rate, and we have
Immigration?
This is just not.
of people moving from other states to the Northeast. So I wouldn't feel comfortable based on just what we've even seen,
Incomes.
Where would you get
including
your
those
data from, Kristen?
projections.
Alright, so then what are you thinking the projection is? You feel like there's gonna be a surge of population, or what are you
We've had
saying?
40% increase in population in the past 25 years. I would at a minimum keep that the same.
But
Rockingham.
75% of that was in 2000 to 2010. Like I was looking, I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But since 2010, it dropped off.
Tabled off quite
There's a big
substantially.
spike there.
And Rockingham County has one of the biggest development pressures in the entire state of New Hampshire.
Of course.
And the Northeast and New England is experiencing huge housing boom and development pressures from other regions, not from birth rates or for ages.
But the
And I-
amount of land is always more development, the amount of land available is going down, so it should trend off.
Look, these came from,
I was just wondering where they came from.
the source was,
That.
I know I answered that question for you last time, I don't have it in front of me, but
You didn't answer where the projection came from.
I did, yeah, I did. The last time you asked
You
it,
said the source, but you didn't say what variables were included in that.
that's where you're welcome to go look at the source.
I did run these same numbers, but I went based on a historical I went back to 2015 and then calculated the population over every given year from the US consensus. And then formulated an average trend, which was 58 people per year or 1% growth approximately.
I mean, look, it's
so
a
I
ton of
don't-
variables that go into this. Let's not get hung up on a single projection, but
I would
do
just
appreciate
feel
it.
comfortable, like if we are putting projections in and informing the chapter, that we name which variables we're utilizing to come up with a number that is realistic for the development and housing booms that we're seeing in Rockingham County.
Anybody else?
I don't think we should be surprised. I don't know why that would be a problem.
No,
Surprise, well.
no,
To
no.
be surprised by the demand.
The
that we would
calculation of
see.
which the
Yeah,
numbers are derived should
Yeah.
be
Clear.
part of the.
Yeah, everything is sourced.
documentation Going forward.
Everything is sourced. As you can see, all the things that I've provided you have a source. And you're welcome to go back to that source and look at what their methodology is. I'm not really sure where the sticking
Find your
point is
own
here.
source.
No, don't find your own source. These are people that are professionals. They do this for a living. This isn't Blair Haney throwing darts. So, I feel like if there's a question with that, then you have to go look at the source and the methodology and take issue with the methodology.
And I agree with you, Kristen, because when we talked about this last summer, I was thinking the same thing when Blair had first presented these numbers, and I was thinking, why are we ignoring the fact that there were so many houses built? But then, now seeing it, okay, that 1 decade was the big bubble, and that was 15 years ago. But I get what you're saying, and having information, I guess, about where the trends are developed, but to Kevin's point, there's only so much land you can build upon in Nottingham.
We do know that a lot is in current use and not conserved, so there is a lot of land that could come out of current use and be
Right.
developed.
Yeah, I think that was one of the maps, was buildable area, buildable land, which took out steep slopes, wetlands, stuff like that, stuff that's in granite, not mapped. But current use is considered buildable for the sake of a
Right.
buildable area map, because it could be.
Right,
It's just a tax thing.
right,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of it,
yeah, it's most of your community.
yes. So that leaves us open
80%.
to a lot of development and a lot
Yeah.
of population increases.
It is, and I think, as planners, this is why we talk about like directing it, right? It's gonna happen if you don't. The growth is gonna happen if you just let it go, you'll get the sprawl, but if you direct it, you have a better chance of shaping it and minimizing those impacts and stuff. But for the sake of the data part that's in front of us, what are people seeing? So this is a good one, we're talking about projections of population estimate. What other trends are you seeing in some of this data?
What I see, one of the trends I see is a number of people, which I've seen in my own generation, elderly people, or people who are older than, moving to Nottingham.
Older people moving to Nottingham, okay?
That's what I see from that.
A lot of retirees.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, if you look at the values, tab, you can, one of the things that kind of speaks to that is they have single family broken out into three, single family with water access, and single family with waterfront. That is actually waterfront, and that makes up 20% of your,
The waterfront.
makes up about 20% of your revenue. So yeah, I mean, that's an indication, a lot of retirees, it's people that are moving here,
But
either for second home or.
deserves a study in all in itself to understand what this data is.
Drew, I've seen
Started in,
more people living alone, decreasing in household size to smaller homes, even though all the houses they're building are 2,800 and 3,000 square feet and 900,000. I'm seeing older population in the survey, 53% or over 55 plus. Household size, 54% are 2 people or less. Yeah, so there is an aging trend. New Hampshire is the second oldest state in the country. So that's certainly it. We have no elderly housing in the town. I am an advocate for elderly housing, but that seems to be not important to people in the town, but in the survey, it was one of the key factors. We saw 55 plus all over the place. And I think that's should be one of our focuses or ideas that we explore.
Nice, yeah, yeah. Aging New England is certainly happening, which is odd, because you have a lot of people that are retiring and moving like out of the state, but then it sounds like we've got some population moving into the state from other places. And so,
So Blair, question?
yeah, go ahead.
On the values by use, line 15, 16, and 17, could you just give it a little description of
Yeah.
what those lines are?
Waterfront access and waterfront, or water access and then waterfront.
Right, and then 15 is just residence.
Just your regular
So-
old single
So
family.
how does the total value play in? It just sort of seems backwards. Where, what's the total value mean when it says 964 versus 84 versus 315? How does that,
Oh, so that's the total value, the assessed value. These are assessed values.
of,
964 million
Yeah.
assessed values in single family.
of the 1923 properties, so you divide that by 19, and then you have an individual, okay, tracking, thank you.
So I did some quick math before coming here. I was looking at those three, 15, 16, 17, which are single family. Those valuations are 63%, 5.5%, and almost 21%. So single family makes up about 88, 89% of your assessed value.
Tracking, yep, thank you.
Commercial makes up about 1.6%. If you're curious, farmland is less than 0.1%. So those were some of the big ones that I grabbed real quick just to be able to tell it to you. But basically, yeah, 89% is but I think that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. I mean, you
Are you
know,
looking at a different tab when you're reading those?
I put those numbers in today.
Understood.
Yeah, after I had sent them to you, I was just trying to have some conversation ready for you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're noticing some smaller household sizes. It's not, you're not dropping a ton, but it is trending that way. One thing that I thought was interesting was if you look at households here we go. Households with children by marital status.
What's that have to do?
Yeah, you can chop off the marital status. I don't think that's.
This is under household?
It's what the census does.
Household tabs?
So it's the whole thing. Yeah, the households, not, yeah, households. It's down in the middle. Households with children, you've increased. You've gone up
Households with
from
children,
589 to 635. I don't know what that anomaly is in 2018, that bump. But, which is interesting because if you look at Rockingham County, the number of households with children has gone down. Almost 37,000 down to 35,000. New Hampshire has gone down. So you guys have ticked up a little bit. It's not significant. Whereas Rockingham County and New Hampshire have both gone down in the same time period. So I think that's an interesting trend.
Can I point out on that trend that 589 new people in the town in 10 years, and there are only 43 new kids in the school, so
Right.
it's a pretty low percentage of more old people moving in, no kids.
Yeah, and smaller number of kids. So even if you do have a family move in, they might have 1 or 2 instead of 3 or 4, right? I think we know this has been going on for a very long time. But yeah, it's those are definitely trends that are here and elsewhere in the country. Does anybody else see anything else that they think is a good trend? Is it indicative of something that would then lead to actions that we should take, responses that we should do as a community?
Smaller households, smaller houses on smaller lots.
Alright,
I think is a thing. Elderly housing, I think is a thing. Rental housing is a thing.
Does an Airbnb qualify as rental housing?
I don't think so.
Because that's an issue in some parts of the country.
it depends, right?
Okay.
So Airbnb is short-term rental. I have a primary residence, a condo in Cambridge. When I go on vacation and put it on Airbnb, that doesn't make it a rental. It's still my primary residence. I just used Airbnb to let someone else use it while I'm away, right? There are places though, Nottingham is a great example because you have some vacation-y type components between the lakes and then of course Pawtuckaway. So it's certainly feasible that someone would buy a home, treat it as a second home, and by and large, just use it as a short-term rental. So they don't put anybody in there long-term. So it's not really a rental, but it's not anybody's primary residence either. My guess is that they would classify it as a rental since it's not a primary residence. But it's not really a rental, is it?
I'm not saying much.
So on one,
But I know in some places it becomes a big issue.
Of course it does. Any resort town is gonna have that problem. Your ski towns all over the country are experiencing that problem, and a lot of the beach towns, like the Cape. Absolutely.
Yeah, something to consider, is it a problem or is it a way for people
In
to
some
make
places, it
money,
becomes a
right?
problem because that's property that people can't buy to actually live in.
I say open.
You know, so it takes it off,
And I get this.
like, it would be, let's say,
When
a
I say
house
open,
that you bought as a second home, and then you just make it into an Airbnb and you just rent it out all year.
I
And
get
so
it.
that house can no
No,
longer
that's-
be a
that's
house that a
physical.
family could purchase and
It
live
should
in.
work.
Yeah.
Differently.
Or is it
I
income that
double-click it,
can
yeah,
go
same
into
thing.
the town,
up
or is it a way
blank,
for people to make money to be
and
able to
then
live in the
I
town?
don't know how to
too?
find this.
I think
A
the
lot of
answer
times
is,
they're not living
I think the answer is between, somewhere between the
Right.
both.
Open.
It serves a market, it has a purpose,
Open.
but when it gets abused, yeah, you get, you know, if you can't, if
Chapter.
the service people can't live anywhere near town, then you're not gonna
Find
have
it.
people that are able to work the community anymore, you know? And that's when it becomes a problem.
Over here to that.
Services like Airbnb don't limit stays
The
either, so
dots.
somebody could
Okay.
put it up for, you know, put a
That's why I'm
place up for
asking,
2
you
weeks
might
and
know-
have somebody who wants to stay for 6 months and they'll be like, that
Downloads.
sounds like a pretty solid thing,
Yeah.
so unless there's something keeping it, then it does kind of become a rental at that part, you know.
Zip.
So right,
Somebody, you know, second home, first home,
Right
whatever.
click.
it doesn't seem like it's a significant housing thing in our town. We have
Not yet.
31
Not yet.
rental, we have 31 rental units in the town.
Yeah.
List here on this survey that there's 110 or
So I
130
think I already did this.
Okay.
renter occupied
Uh,
properties, which could be a single family or it could be one of the 31 apartments that are in the
It comes
town,
up.
but in
Comes
Nottingham,
up
compared to
blank,
other towns, we are
and,
like
uh,
1.5% or something for rental housing,
Open.
compared to the lowest of all the other towns is like 5 or 6%, I don't remember the
Okay.
exact number. And some go as
Open.
high as like, 16 to 20%, like Raymond, for example, so
With.
we have a long,
So-
long, like, huge giant way to get there, and we'll never get there, but even if we strive to go from our low
What can I say?
1.5 to a 5%,
I'm begging
we
for
would
it.
have to turn the train around and do a major overhaul of our zoning, cause basically multifamily housing, though it looks like it's allowed, it doesn't fit.
Well, I'm just thinking with the housing unit, and we're getting the push that we should have more rental properties.
Sure.
That there should be a distinction between rental that I could live in there and pay the rent and be there while my kid goes to school for the next 5 years. Or are they going to rent it for a week? You know, I think there needs to be some kind of a distinction between short-term and what we would, I guess, call long-term rental. You know, it could be a college student staying there for the year or semester. That's different than somebody coming in for a week or 2 weeks. And I don't know how we would word it, but it's something to think about. Because we do attract tourism here to a certain extent with the park and with the lakes. Not just the one lake, but our multiple lakes.
That could be a recommendation, that the planning board look into that as well, look
Mhm.
into, you know, zoning ordinances for short-term rentals, long-term rentals,
Yeah.
and what other surrounding towns with similar vacation-y, semi-vacation-y economies, how they deal with it. Because yeah, it's not, we don't have a lot of that in town now, but part of the master plan is to give us that blueprint for the next, well, it's supposed to be like the next decade, but in, practice, it seems like the next 15 plus years, so
Another-
good
it's
to
just
think
something to
about
think
it, or
about.
I
at least
wonder
make
if
a
it's a
recommendation that it should be looked into sooner rather
percentage
than
of
later.
stock or something,
What's that?
like a percentage of stock is allowed
You
to
were
be.
Yeah.
just recommending another
Short-term.
recommendation.
Yeah,
to the
I don't
planning
know, I just
board.
know
I
in
wanted
some
you to
parts
pick
of the
up on
country,
If you didn't.
Airbnbs have become
was taking care of you.
a bad word.
There are certain municipalities that have zones strictly for Airbnbs. They have a limit to the number that can be registered in that zone too.
Yeah.
They have noise limits, like very strict noise limits. There are places that really strictly control short-term rentals.
Okay, if we're trying to see.
Not saying that's what we should do, but
Okay.
there's the opposite end of
Yeah.
the spectrum.
It's not, the Airbnb's not a huge problem here yet. I know we have to keep an eye on it, but I do wanna try to get us back onto some
Yeah,
of
let's,
this other
let's
stuff.
get us back on track.
Yeah, do you guys have something?
No,
You were over there canoodling and conspiring with any
we're just
any good
cross,
any good trends over there?
No, we're
No?
Yeah, I see the trend. there
holding
was
our
a-
cards here.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. I see there is 3 trends. Number 1 is the town will continue to grow. Number 2 is the people that will be moving to this town are gonna be older than younger. With less family, there's gonna be less kids in this town. Or the people that are moving to this town are not with kids. Those are the 10. That means that it gives impetus to ideas about housing, that we should have more variable options for housing. Those are trends I see.
Yeah, I mean, that middle one, the second one might be up for a little bit of debate. Kristen pointed out there's a lot of immigration coming in, not immigration from outside the country, but immigration from within the United States, people moving from other locations to this area. She pointed out that there are data sets out there that indicate that New England is taking in a lot more people. So I don't know if those are older people. Older people don't tend to move to colder climates. They tend to move to warmer climates. So that might indicate that they're younger people. I don't know.
The
So
ones that are older are moving here and also can be Florida in the winter.
yeah, there could be some people moving here to snowbirds. Sure.
What's the term for that?
Yeah, snowbirds.
Snowbirds. So I see some of the people that have moved into this town as snowbirds.
Oh, I don't doubt you. I don't doubt that there are people here, people that are moving here that are retirees. I don't doubt that. I don't know what the percentage is of new people coming in the community that make up that demographic.
Let me ask it this way, just as a general question. I have been told that a lot of senior citizens want to move to New Hampshire because of the tax benefits. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
New Hampshire is among the cheaper states in the country to live in on overall taxes, not on property tax, but on overall tax picture. In response to, people moving in, we see in the real estate business that I've been for a very long time, a lot of people coming from Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York,
Right.
et cetera. They sell a house down there for 1.5 million, and they come up to our town and they see a house that's like 650,000, our average house price, and it's like candy money to them. So yeah, it's great that they could buy a house and have some acreage in a small quaint town, and have a lot of cash, and they're kind of pricing out some of the younger buyers and some of the residents.
I think that's something I always wonder about, is that the market always drives what really happens.
Well, there are some controls that we could put on it. We put in open space housing, but we didn't put in a maximum house size. So, here we have an open space development and the houses are 900,000 each. And, the only way to control that is to have smaller houses. So I picked up an article today that was great. Cottage Courts, and this is for Keene, but Bedford, Antrim, Hinsdale, which is a tiny ridiculous town. They do have a Walmart though. Lebanon, Hampton, Milford, Harrisville, tiny town too. All have these cottage housing developments. One of these houses average 384 to 444 square feet. Another one, they could be no more than a 900 square foot footprint, 1,250 square feet. And so you could only get so much money for these things compared to, if you could squeeze this 3,000 square foot house on this tiny open space lot and sell it for 900,000, you're right, the builder will do that. They will get the maximum amount they can because they are gonna get the maximum profit they can out of that sale. They get 10% of a sale for 900,000, why would they sell one for 600,000? The answer is they wouldn't. Now, if you could take that same $900,000 house and put two $600,000 houses there in the same space, that's 1.2 million. Now the builder can make more money to sell two smaller houses. But without controls of that, it's not gonna happen. It's a market-driven thing. Capitalism, greed.
How do you control it?
Okay, well,
Guys,
I know we're getting off track a little bit,
A
so I
little
just
bit.
wanna bring it back.
Yeah, thank you.
30.
One of the things that, we had talked about, was, the types of, the types of houses that we were, that people were looking for. So, but one of the things that I heard was, these two groups that are kind of looking for the same thing, and that is like your step-in housing or your step-down housing, that sort of starter home or cottage, size home. I guess what what do we see? Do we feel like there is any indication for that type of a home in this community without having to blow out the community, to just let everything go from 2 acres down to half-acre lot size? Is there a willingness, or is there a desire or like a market desire for something that is different than what the community currently has, which is single family, side by side townhome style house, or like a 4-unit structure. I don't want to. I'm not thinking of like 50-unit type structures, stuff that you might find in some other communities that have water and sewer, right? We might be limited by virtue of being a community that doesn't have water and sewer. So, is there a path towards that, or is there a desire for that? Is that what people are looking for, that you see in the way these demographic and household trends are going, right? We're seeing smaller household size, we're seeing less children. Is there a response to that this community also feels comfortable with, right? Sort of balancing the trend with the sort of personality of the community.
To Steve's point, there is a big trend here. There are 80 people over, or 80 households over 65 that moved here from 2013 to 2023. And the households with children jump was a lot smaller. So there is already
Which one are you pointing to? I'm
the
sorry.
people over 65 living alone.
Okay,
The households over 65, there are 81 people, 81 households over 65 that moved here. That's a lot more that's a bigger percentage than the households with children that moved here. And hearing from and seeing in the surveys, like over 55,
Yeah.
the age of New Hampshire, it's like and then what people said here, I feel like one of the recommendations, my big concern is like how much water to a housing unit can we even carry? And it's sad or disappointing that data can't be, that would be something as a recommendation to be able to see how much we could prescribe along those corridors or mixed use and supporting commercial and multi-living units, how could that safely be done and successfully be done? But I feel like to be able to prescribe all of that, we need to understand how much we can sustain.
Yeah, we had 3 people looking into that, and it just, there's so many variables to try to make any type of estimation that we felt comfortable putting our name on. We didn't with water and sewer. There's, so much.
Even, I just mean like engineered, there's test pits, there's like looking at groundwater, there's the aquifers, we know where those all are.
Yep.
So having that kind of engineered study is done to inform the planning board of zoning changes to support higher density seems smart. to
Yeah, I
me.
think it's a smart idea. I think it's a good isolated study to have somebody look into that's qualified to do something like that. That's not something that we can do, but I imagine that there's some computer software models out there that have been prepared to give you some kind of estimate.
We have this place in New Hampshire called the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services that has lots of engineers and experts that work there. And they actually have standards for water supplies, for communities, for wells, for group wells. There's standards and all kinds of rules that people have to follow. And the same thing with septics. I mean, you have a septic system, you could have common septics shared between multiple units.
I think what she was
That's what
what
I'm
she was
saying.
asking is like, okay, we have 100 houses right now. If we go to 200, do we have an aquifer beneath the ground that can support that? Or at what point do we deplete it and now have to go to
So
public water?
So in Barrington, they did a development with condos and there was, I wanna say it was Dumas who did the 12 or 24 units up on, Route 4 here. And, they did, I think 57, I think it was about 80.
I don't think you're getting us to where we wanna be on this conversation.
The point is they applied and got approval for more units and then when they actually put the wells in, they didn't have the capacity on the water and turned into less units. So there
Yeah, no.
there are checks and rules about that
Yeah, absolutely.
out there, that we don't have to be water experts,
So I am
hydrogeologists.
supporting the consensus. My recommendation, or what I am suggesting, is that one of the action items, if we wanted to move forward and make a recommendation for clustered housing or 55 plus or mixed use along the commercial zone, is that we would do that in an educated way. And so that we would say that studies need to occur to be able to make those choices and make those recommendations. I'm not disagreeing with you.
I would agree with you in that we rely on the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services who already does this exact job.
That was
they-
in my email today to
But we could
Blair as a
but
recommendation.
as the planning board, we could also require that of the applicant to do that study.
Right.
I'd agree with that. Again, remember, we had this whole battle with USA Today, with USA, that was based on that argument.
So that idea that, doing a study to figure out where the aquifers and other things could carry the capacity for larger developments would help the planning board to be able to target particular parts of the town for higher
Yeah.
density, right? There's a reason that we would want to do a study like this and not just rely on existing regulations that are like we'll find out when the aquifer is depleted, like that's not good planning. And so, yeah, doing a study to figure out where we might
Site-specific
want
to
to
Nottingham.
increase density seems to make sense. That's salient to me, so I'd support it as a recommendation, right? It's not like we're binding ourselves to do anything. It's just recommending that the planning board look into doing that.
Yeah, I think it's more than prudent to get yourself a range, just get an idea. Is it 100 houses that will be built next week, or is it 10,000? Like where is the community at in terms of what it could support?
So Blair, you're asking us to kind of review the maps and data that you sent, right? And give you some feedback? I mean, we've given some, but,
Yeah.
okay, because we just got those, right? I mean, just a couple
Yeah.
days ago, so I haven't read through them, so I'd like to review it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm happy to do another meeting, but it would be over Zoom, if people are comfortable with that.
Could you send it again to me, please?
Sure, yep. If we can do it over Zoom, we can meet again.
So is this data gonna, I mean, is this ready to get put into a chapter or
Well,
what's this?
the idea is
This, I guess.
the idea is to look at the trends, to see what the projections are, and then, what ones do we think jump out, right? Water has been brought up, right? So that seems like something that is a topic that has an action item. But we've also talked about the aging population. Well,
Yeah, so we've got 55
how does that
plus.
translate to action items? I'm trying to use the data to drive us towards goals and action items. But I wanted to go over this data tonight to bat it around a little bit, wrestle with the data. It's what a research project is, right? You pull it all together and then you get into the muddy pit and you kind of go after it. Some people put more emphasis on other data points and, other ones. So that's what I'm trying to get to is what are the data, what are the trends, what are the projections, what's the data that people are gravitating towards that they find to be very compelling, that they're telling the story of Nottingham, but also please be thinking about, okay, then how does that translate into action items? Because that's what that's what the master plan has to get to. It's not just a collection of data, it's recommendations, it's action items. So the last document that you have, this is a very general outline of what it would look like, right? Give an introduction, talk about what we did as a community to get to this point. What were the steps? We formed a subcommittee, we did a ton of outreach and engagement, here's what it looked like. I might even throw in a few statistics or something like that, or some quotes, I don't know. But then, so you get into the meat of it, like what is our housing story? What are the trends? What are the projections? And then finally, okay, you've got all this stuff. What did you do with it? What was your analysis? What did you conclude? What did you find? What are your findings? And those would become goals and recommendations, or goals and actions, whatever we want to call it.
Crazy.
When I was looking at Barrington's, which we helped them do in 2023, we had three goals. They chose 3 goals, so I'll just read them to you to give you a sense of what that looks like. The goal was ensure that the opportunity for development and redevelopment within the town allows for moderate priced housing and maintaining rural character. Ensure the opportunity for development and redevelopment that allows for aging in place. And then the last one was ensure that housing development and redevelopment projects incorporate principles of resiliency. And then each one of those, had a handful of action items, 2 or 3 or 4 action items each to help achieve that goal. It's a standard format. It's similar to what we did last time. But this is the place where this group makes its money. Because you're gonna be making these recommendations to the planning board, but by extension to the entire community. So if you wanna take this home and wrestle with it, and then in a couple of weeks, we get back together, I could send you a little bit more information, a little more data, to look at, before we meet. And then we can, if you wanna do a Zoom call, a video call, I'm happy to do that.
Now, you just read those, are those in here?
No, those are Barringtons, I was just trying to give you examples. I can email them to you if you want them.
Yes, please.
We could say that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have kind of the 3 goals that we just talked about, right? The
Yeah,
aging,
we
the
just
aging,
said
the over
that.
55, we wanna get that potential action item for the planning board to look at lot sizes.
I have that one down. Yep.
Okay.
As
And
an
then-
as an action item,
Yeah, as an action item.
Yeah,
but as goals,
those 3 goals.
The goal is to get more variety of housing available, right?
I mean, it's what I encourage communities to do, like, you know, you have plenty of single family, you know, looking towards a mix of housing is good.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be equally weighted, you're always gonna probably have more single family, but
Increased diversity of housing available.
Can we go around the table like we did with Steve, and he suggested a couple ideas, and each one of the people here suggest some ideas and their trend? We haven't heard from Mary, Drew, Kristen about what ideas they have for housing. Kevin, Tim?
I think we're pretty much all on the same page. I just would like to know, what did they put as action items under resiliency, their
Yeah.
third goal?
sounds right. but
I
what-
like it,
what
but
is
I don't know what it means.
We have T-shirts with it.
well, yeah, you know, it was, it's taking me a second to pull up the document, but.
You could share those with us, Blair? even
Yeah, I mean,
though-
I can share, I just wanna, yeah.
Even though it's a different
I was-
town?
I used Barrington because you guys had said in the beginning of the project that was a similar community. And I thought hearing what they had done would be good.
Is it prudent to ask you, like, what, you know, Barrington, but, you know, Northwood and Lee and?
They're all on their
wouldn't
websites.
that-
Their
what's
master,
that?
their master plans are on their websites, the town websites like ours is.
But
Yeah,
is this data on their website?
Yeah.
It's their master plan.
this is their
Goal.
goal, yeah, this is,
Goals,
so,
action items?
Yeah, it's in the master
It
plan.
is,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
so
thank you.
theirs was ensure that housing development and redevelopment projects incorporate principles of resiliency. Recommendations. Seek energy efficient design of new housing units during the review and approval process.
Did master.
Promote energy efficiency construction practices during redevelopment projects through retrofitting. Promote linkages and integration between neighborhoods, community facilities, and places of employment.
It's online. No,
So
here.
that was those were the resiliency action items. I can read off a couple of the other ones, you know, as I said.
That to me is very general. I mean, I can support that right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Basic.
look,
Oh,
the goals are
recommendations?
supposed to be broad.
To the,
The action items,
this is the whole plan.
for me, the best action items are two buckets. One is those sort of long range type of things like, we want to get to a mix of housing where single family represents 85%.
Yeah, right.
Two family and three family represent 10%, right? So that's something that would take 10 years to achieve. Whereas you might have some action items that are much smaller. Write a zoning amendment for XYZ.
No,
That
no,
could be
I
done
think you have to scan,
week.
through- I mean,
You
this
guys
is a
do
massive
that together.
document.
Right? You'd have to get it through town meeting.
Yeah,
So having like low hanging fruit, easy to sort of accomplish, and then some of your longer range stuff. The low hanging fruit stuff is good for building momentum, keeping
I
people
don't know that they
engaged,
have,
having success stories, things you can write about in the newsletter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and people pay attention.
Yeah, yes,
And then they say, oh, they're actually doing something.
They're getting stuff done.
Might get more
Exactly.
interested, yeah.
Yeah, and then it'll get people more involved.
that might be for
Um,
like the land,
Yes,
Conservation thing.
their action items are very thin in terms of actually
may not
doing
be
stuff,
for
in my
housing
opinion.
particularly.
I would tend to shoot for more specific things, but I can share, I mean,
They've
it's
actually-
online, but I can share it with you if you'd like. So you can see what theirs look like.
Boring.
But yeah, those were their three goals. We need to find some goals. Maybe if we meet again in 2 weeks, that could be the goal, is to come out of that with 3 goals and maybe a couple of action items under each goal.
Could we all send along ones that we have?
Yeah,
Yeah,
please do.
I just
Yeah.
heard some.
Did we talk about rental housing as a goal at all, or anybody here?
I mean, it's been touched upon, you know,
Yeah, we just talked about short-term, long-term rentals. right?
yeah.
And that would go under diversity of stock available?
Yeah.
So we just adopted a housing multifamily housing for the commercial district based on the state requirements. So, right now we need 2 acres per unit, and so a 2-unit requires 4 acres, plus there's a lot envelope, so you probably need about 6 acres to build a 2-unit building. Should there be some like recommendation to lower that
Yeah, we just talked
amount,
about
or
that.
how does,
We just talked about that, about reducing the lot sizes.
reducing lot size?
Making sure that the water and septic
Yeah.
can meet the demand before the building begins.
Okay, is that more important than the lot size?
I think water and septic are quite important.
So,
I see right now, thank you, Robert, for us, 2 paths divided into the woods, and I took the one less traveled. Let me be clear that there is 2 things going on right now. One is there's a thrust to finish our different sections. That's one goal. There's another goal, which you represent, is to finish something on housing. We have to proceed on 2 tracks, that's all I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
I also wanna point out, I mean, again, this is a living document. At some point, it has to be just a document, right? And then it goes on living. So we have to birth this thing, right? So let's keep that moving.
Gestation
we're,
period
we're,
shouldn't be
we're in
3
the
years,
second
though,
trimester
okay?
here, man.
I'm feeling third trimester, but
Are we there yet? All right. Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I said. This project was outreach and engagement to hear from the community, wrestle with the data, further report. And we're kind of in this, in between wrestling with the data and
yeah,
birthing report.
I think that's representable, yeah.
Um,
I have a question. In the chapter, do we acknowledge, like, you started the whole thing of like, New Hampshire wants to add 30,000 units of housing stock, like, do we acknowledge the external pressures in that chapter as well?
I mean,
Why wouldn't we just acknowledge our own community's
I think not.
desires,
Yeah,
Agree.
I think.
that's like world hunger, we're not interested in that. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is our community, and this is a goal for our community. If it fits into that, yes, I see that as actually going on that, because the word affordable has been used several times, but that will lead to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've got about 5 minutes and we'll
Yeah,
we're
then
trying to
we're
get this wrapped up.
Like I said, in my eyes, we're in that phase of data analysis and then pivoting to goals and actions. So if you have thoughts on that, please send
That's on
some,
housing, right?
Yes.
yeah, housing for now,
Clear,
housing for now.
yeah.
When we do natural resources is very map heavy. Pretty much this whole corridor is your natural resources
Yeah.
inventory. All the maps that are through this hallway are basically just gonna get updated. And then we'll do the same thing, analysis, but we're not there yet. But does this group wanna meet again over Zoom to talk
Yeah.
about goals and recommendations?
I think let's give it
In
2
like-
weeks,
2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
yeah,
Do we wanna pick something now?
Do we wanna try to do that?
3rd of the 10th. So it's March,
10th is election day.
next election day, alright, let's not do that.
It has to be on Tuesday, is that?
No.
No,
But we all have to agree on it, which is hard.
and Tuesday tends to be the one that we can kind of agree on.
As long as we don't conflict with zoning, we were lucky this month.
I come from Burlington.
No, just to say,
Tuesdays and then.
I prefer, I think you can get more done in a face-to-face meeting than a Zoom, but.
I hear you, man, but I am so far over budget with the
Yeah.
number of meetings we have had as a group.
I like seeing you, Blair.
I love coming here.
Yeah.
I don't wanna hear from Jen anymore. and we still have to do the natural resources. So,
Alright, do you want me to send out a
today's the second.
poll?
Let's do it now.
Or
Let's-
do I wanna do it now?
Let's do it now, 'cause
I'll
we-
send out a poll.
So it
Not
would either,
everybody has their calendars available right now,
to
so.
keep this reasonable, would either be the 3rd or the 17th.
March 3rd or March 17th.
Yeah,
17th,
'cause it's
St.
St.
Patrick's Day, we
Patrick's
may not have
I
a
have
couple of
events
Irish
on
people
both
around, I
days.
don't know.
We're talking
Well,
about
if it's a
March.
Zoom, you can drink in a coffee mug and no one's gonna know. So you can get your Irish on all you
Turn
want,
your
yeah.
video off.
You're just gonna blow on it like it's a hot coffee or something.
Right.
Something video.
How about the third?
Hot
Uh,
tub.
Do we have any conflicts with the third?
I have a conflict, but I have it on the 17th as well, so I'm happy to send my thoughts via email.
I think I'm good either.
I mean,
I can do it on 3rd by Zoom we're talking about.
Yeah,
it could be I mean, the 24th is like a month and change away. Do we wanna keep it the 3rd or?
Do you have to do more preparing of data sets or anything?
Like I said, there's a couple that I've been waiting to get some information back from the town, I haven't gotten it yet. I would probably get it by then if I'm ever gonna get it, so. I wouldn't let me be the one driving the date in terms of getting more information to you. Like, I have more stuff that I can send you, but I wouldn't let it be me.
If either of those work for the majority, then. I can
yeah, let me
send
send out a
this
poll that
out.
works for the majority and then, you know, of those dates. I don't want,
I'm fine to wait till the 24th, I just don't wanna get too far down the road.
I know, that's 5 weeks away.
Yeah,
I'd
I mean,
rather
cause
do something in
if
between.
it's a very effective meeting, then great, I can start to move and write, but,
Well, that's what we might need to get
Yeah.
to you, so
yeah.
let's do it sooner.
Alright.
I'll send out
The
a
3rd
poll.
Sounds to me good right now.
Say that again?
The 3rd.
Last thing, Drew, do you wanna give a quick update on GZA and where we're at with that? Cause you guys talked about it with the Concom and stuff.
Yeah, so our vernal pool, LiDAR survey, desktop exercise was completed by GZA Environmental. They have the draft version to me and Blair. We're currently reviewing it, and we should be done reviewing it by the end of the month. And then it'll be finalized by GZA and sent back to us and the Conservation Commission for whatever we want to do with it from there.
Yeah, so they're not really providing us much in the way of like the way this is analysis of recommendations, so when Drew says him and I are reviewing it, I just, before it becomes a public document, I wanna make sure there's no glaring errors, when something gets out there, people treat it as though it's gospel, even though it's like a super early draft. So we're just gonna make sure that, you know, they did what they were supposed to do and they got it right, they didn't misinterpret something, you know, a building as a vernal pool, you know, something silly. But Drew has been great to help me out with this, cause I wasn't really familiar with what was going on, what was expected. And the Concom was great, they've sussed out a couple of extra parcels. GZA was kind enough to add it to the group as part of the contract, but yeah, it's a desktop exercise and we have that now. And then in the springtime, you all are gonna have to start recruiting people to go be volunteers and go out into the field.
Verify some of the vernal pools. GZA will be running a vernal pool identification workshop in the spring for the volunteers who will be working on doing field verification of the vernal pools as well. So there will be training included by the consultant.
What's the definition of a vernal pool?
That is what the consultant will help us understand without
So this
taking
is
any
a
extra
what?
time.
This is a LiDAR specific to that, or the whole town, or?
Conserved lands in Nottingham were looked at using LiDAR data to determine where potential vernal pools might be,
Oh, good.
right? So we have potential vernal pools on a map, and so on public
Understood.
properties, on, public conserved lands, we can go out and verify if they're there or not, using the criteria that the
Understood.
consultant will help us to
And it's only
understand.
on conservation land?
That's right, it was only conserved lands and all of the
Lands that we had access to was the key thing.
Right. So some of them are, not completely public lands, but they're ones that were under easements with the, the Conservation Commission's involvement where we have
Sure.
a good relationship. So it's not like it's posted as public land, but some of the parcels that were included are ones that are conserved in that way. They won't be built upon. And so we'll have an inventory of potential vernal pools for some of these lands. If those landowners, the ones that aren't completely public but are conserved, if they give permission to go do that on their lands, we could do that as well, but that'll be up to them. The main, like Blair said, the main point was public lands, so like Mulligan Forest, for example, right? And those types of large conserved
Understood.
spaces
Okay.
in town. So it's part of the natural resources inventory, so it's to help us understand some of the, vernal pools are very unique, they're very vital for ecosystems, and so understanding where those might be and kind of the spread of them
Thank you.
throughout town can help us target areas for development,
I
areas
was just
for
wondering-
conservation.
I wondered if you were able to do the whole town and figure
The
out
consultant,
where.
theoretically, the consultant could do the whole town, but it would take more money than our grant had to do that, so we had to chop it down into a subset, and figuring out where to draw that line was difficult, but we got a good amount of data out. That'll be forthcoming, so we can,
Okay.
once it's finalized, we